are fans of Golden Era Wrestling who are in with us tonight? Any Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior fans about at all? Yeah, a little bit. What about the new generation? What about Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman Hart? Any fans of those guys in? Yeah, bit better, a bit more there. And what about Attitude Era? Anyone from the Attitude Era? Anyone a fan of that? Any Stone Cold Steve Austin fans out there? What? And the Rock? Anyone a fan of the Rock? Yeah, good stuff. Excellent. That's what we like to hear. So last night in Fusion, we did have a very good match that was on. It was Gene Money taking on Scotty 2 Hotty, and the echoes around Fusion last night were, "You've still got it, never lost it," was it, Graham? Yeah, so it was a pretty special night. Anyone who was there did get to witness the Worm in action last night. Pretty special stuff. Thoroughly enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it already, you can check it out on the TNT Extreme Wrestling Facebook and Instagram and also Twitter pages. So make sure you do check those out. And who's excited for Scotty 2 Hotty this evening then? Have you all got your questions ready for him? We are going to be doing a bit of a Q&A a little bit later on once we've done a bit of an interview with Scotty. Have you got your questions ready? You will get the chance to ask him anything you fancy, so we'll crack on with that very shortly. And at this time, nice introduction for Mr. Scotty 2 Hotty. He debuted in '89, ladies and gentlemen. Started in WF in 1991. He's had an over 30-year career in professional wrestling. Please feel free to stand up, make as much noise as humanly possible for the man from Westbrook, Maine, the master of the Worm, a member of Too Cool. Please welcome to Top Rope Brewing in Liverpool, Scotty 2 Hotty! We met briefly last night as I introduced you to the ring and to all the TNT Extreme Wrestling fans. What a night we had in Fusion. We were
Can everybody see sitting like this? I feel like I'm in a hole over here, but I'll get a booster seat if you need me to. I just jumped off that train as it went by, so I can do anything now.
Excellent. We were just saying.
Thank
you so much. Last night in Fusion, it was echoing around that room.
I gotta do this. I feel like I'm in a hole over there. You see my fat rolls, so.
Yeah, we were just saying, you've still got it, never lost it.
I don't know about that, but I just lost a little bit of hair on top, but the rest of it's. Let me ask you guys a question. So I'm staying in this like apartment type thing, right, with like 2 bedrooms in it, and then there's 2 apartments on the same floor. And there's a sign on the door. Mine's like plain with just a number on the door. And then the other door has a number on it and has a big sign that says hen party. I've never heard of a hen party. So what the hell is that?
A hen party is like before a hen night before you get married. The women have sort of one last night of debauchery, and basically all the girls go out and go crazy in Liverpool and get drunk and have a big party. So if you've got a hen night next door, it sounds like you might be having a good night in Liverpool tonight, Scotty.
Can I come?
So it's like what we call a bachelorette party.
That's it, yeah. So it could be a noisy one.
See you guys later. Speak to you. All right,
Scotty 2 Hotty!
Let's talk about wrestling now.
The fun part out the way for him. So, Scott, what did you think of Thrill Kill last night, first of all? You had a match with G Money. You know, the response from the TNT Extreme fan base was something absolutely, you know, it brought goosebumps to my arms. It was insane in there, and you know, the dueling chants did not stop for probably at least, I would say, at least 5 minutes before you even got a chance to lock up. So a pretty special atmosphere in there, and I'm guessing that is exactly the reason that you are back working in the UK at the moment, to get that sort of response and to enjoy those moments.
Yeah, well, it kind of plays into the reason why I came back to wrestling at all. You know, I was coaching for WWE for the last 6 years at the Performance Center, and the first 5 years were awesome, don't get me wrong. Greatest job, everything, I loved it, loved working with all of the talent, they became like my kids. But then I saw this movement happening outside of WWE, with not only AEW being on fire, but the one AEW fan in the house, everybody? And the independent scene in general being on fire. From GCW to TNT to OTT, like all of these companies all over the world just taking off, and I see people like Matt Cardona out there who left WWE. He was released, you know, and then he went out, reinvented himself, using social media as his own, to be his own promoter, and looking like he's having a blast. So all of that led to this, and you know, here I am back in the UK, 12 days in a row with at least one thing per day, doing seminar signings, doing things like this. By the way, this is the first time I've ever done one of these. And then, you know, wrestling on top of that. And so far, dude, it's been red hot, and just, I can't even explain it. Like, I left WWE in 2007, went back to the independent scene, and it was cool, but it wasn't what it is now. Now it's almost like I'm this nostalgia thing, right? There's this little piece of nostalgia, and there's not a lot of guys from my time that are still out there wrestling. So I'm out there, and I'm trying to deliver what I do in a respectable way, where I'm not trying to be Scotty Too Hotty from 2000, because I don't think I can pull it off to a respectable level. But I toyed with this, like, do I come back as that, or do the fans want to see what would Scotty Too Hotty look like 20 years later? And I feel like that's a more respectable thing to do. So that's what I've done. You know, I still wear the bucket hat, still have the same music, still have the same name, even though a billionaire in Stamford, Connecticut owns it. But don't tell him I'm using it. If we do that, then we're gonna have to change it to like when I went to France like 10 years ago, and I was Scotty Lehade. But honestly, even if I couldn't use the name, the fans today are so smart, and with the internet, like, you know, when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash left WWF years ago and went to WCW, it kind of changed everything. And the fans, like, we don't care what you call it, it's still the same person playing the character, and I'm still able to deliver and have fun. But what I was going to say is, like, it's just such I've never had this happen in my career, but I've had it happen 3 times since I got here last week, where I get emotional, like, and almost start to cry. I have started to cry a couple times, and I made tonight talking about it. And it's just, I'm having these grown men who are in their 30s bring their kids and introduce me, and as I do photos with them, I can feel them shaking, and I can feel them, like, it's overwhelming. Like, I don't want to sound like, oh, I'm this huge superstar. I'm still the 16-year-old kid who started in my mom's garage, like, as a backyard wrestler. But I go, how the hell do I go from that 16-year-old kid in my mom's garage, get on a plane, fly across the pond, come here, and like, I get that reaction from people. It's like what every 16-year-old kid dreams of who wants to do this. So, and then I have these grown men bringing their kids and to these shows, and then when I think back, I go, okay, if this dude is 32 years old now, at the peak of my career, he was 10 years old. Like, that is insane to me. Like, I can't even be that old, you know what I mean? But dude, it's awesome. I'm having the time of my life. And when I walked away from WWE this last time, whether you guys, I don't know how many of you guys know this, but I walked away this time. I asked for my release. I just wasn't having fun anymore. And nothing against them. I love them for everything they gave me. They made me what I am. They allowed me to be here tonight because they gave me a platform to show the world what I can do. but I just wasn't having fun with it anymore. So I said, okay, I can not have fun and have a paycheck direct deposit into my account every Monday, or I can take a chance, come back out here, do what I love, and see what happens. And not a day goes by that I go, man, I regret doing that. I've had so much fun, and thank you guys. It's been so awesome.
It is absolutely amazing. And, you know, we're all just so glad as well that you're enjoying yourself coming over to visit. Obviously, Liverpool's been your favourite stop on the journey so far. You've been to Wales, Scotland. Are you been in Ireland as well?
I started. Well, no, I go to London tomorrow. I mean, I go to Dublin tomorrow. I started in London flew out last Wednesday. Got to London Thursday. Had a signing in London Friday. Went to Wales, where I introduced my buddies, the Wailers, from Bob Marley and the Wailers. I've known those guys for like 10 years, so first time I got to introduce them on stage. And then on Sunday, I did a show in, sorry, I can't talk without doing all this and doing, I gotta do this. Now you know where all that comes from. And then I did a show in Wales on Sunday.
Newport, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2 seminars on Monday in Wales, seminar in Scotland, Glasgow, Tuesday, and then a seminar in signing in Glasgow, and then TNT last night. So.
Insane! What a you're really traveling well there. I'm just, you know,
I love the travel. Some people
it.
hate the travel. I love it. It's sort of a big thing from what I missed. So it's cool.
I just wanted to touch back on one small little thing you mentioned, which was obviously leaving.
The hens?
Leaving Dublin. Leaving Dublin. Was you had to ask for your release, I'm assuming. Matt Bloom, is he the person you were working with there, was it?
Yeah, he's the head coach. Yeah.
So Matt, but I mean,
he's the head coach because he has a giant head. I don't know if you guys ever noticed that. A-Train, big head. Yeah. Literally.
We've seen
and
that before.
don't think I never told him that.
And also, I'm sure you were more than happy to be working alongside, well, I assume, Shawn Michaels at the Performance Centre. Was that somebody you grew up watching when you were younger?
Shawn Michaels was my go-to guy. He was my idol, like ever since I can remember. I fell in love with wrestling at about 10 years old, so that was right around the first WrestleMania. But they were all big guys, the Hogans, you know, all those guys. There was that era where the guys were giants, so there was no chance I could ever do this. And then Shawn Michaels came along, Bret Hart came along, 1, 2, 3 Kid came along. They blew the doors open for the smaller guys, right? And then, yeah, Shawn was my guy, dude. Like, if you look back at early photos from when I was Scott Taylor, first starting out, and even when I first started at WWF, I was a Shawn Michaels wannabe. From the outfit to the moves, everything was Shawn Michaels, you know? And I said to him one day at the PC, I'm gonna name drop here for a second. I mean, I can't get much bigger than talking about working with Shawn Michaels, but Edge happened to be at the PC, and it was me, Edge, and Shawn Michaels, and I said to Edge, I said, dude, like, how crazy is it that I work a day job with Shawn Michaels? And Shawn said, how crazy is it that I work a day job? So, I mean, without missing a beat, like, he hit that. Like.
From earlier on in his career, you would never have expected that, would you? I heard that when you were younger and you wanted to get into wrestling, you had a similar sort of thing to me, where you used to like watch VHS tapes and things like that, and you got to go to numerous shows when you were younger as well. Where was like your local wrestling shows that you got to go and watch yourself?
So I grew up in Portland, Maine. It's about 2 hours north of Boston, and I grew up going to all the shows in Portland. The first time I remember my dad taking me to the Cumberland County Civic Center in Portland, Maine. All I remember was Andre the Giant was there. I wasn't really into wrestling at this point. It was, like I said, it was 5, so it was before WrestleMania and all that. And then the first show I remember being excited to go to, WWF show, was it was right after the first WrestleMania. So I remember the tag match was the main event, and it was Steamboat, Orton, Orndorff, and Morocco. I don't remember who was. So Orndorff turned babyface right after the first one. I don't know what the teams are. That's
Even so, that is what a card that is. So
yeah.
Also, and to see Andre the Giant as well must have been, as a 5-year-old, must have been absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But that was epic. And that leads on quite nicely to speak to you about as well. When you wrote it's common knowledge. You wrote a letter to Sue Aitchison, was it, at WWF at the time? And that's that sounds pretty awesome. So was that like when you sort of really got into it and you decided to write it to find out how you could become a superstar yourself?
Yeah, well, by that point, my friends and I, we had gone and we built a makeshift ring in my mom's garage. We literally had 18 mattresses, so 3 rows of 3, and then we had plywood, and then we had another 3 rows of 3, and then we took a big camping tarp, put it over the top. That's what we learned on. Sorry, what was the question?
That sounds like a good setup, to be fair. I was just saying after you wrote the letter.
It's not old age. I've just been waffled in the head with chairs for a while.
Attitude era, and I was just saying. So, and that's how you got.
I don't even know where the hell I'm at right now. So.
This is Top Rope Brewing in Liverpool. Don't forget to get your Scotty 2 hoppy beer on draft, ladies and gentlemen. Good stuff. I don't feel ill. But yeah, so you started backyard wrestling. Basically, you basically invented backyard wrestling by the sound of things.
I was a backyard wrestler before there was a word for it. So, yeah.
And then you wrote to Sue Aitchison at WWF at the time, and what did she come back with?
So we found my friends and I. We found the WWF headquarters address in the back of the WWF magazine. So I just wrote and asked. There are a bunch of schools out there at the time. You had Killer Kowalski's, you had in Boston, you had the Hearts out in Calgary, you had the Monster Factory in Atlanta and New Jersey. So I just wrote to her and said, which school do you prefer to take your wrestlers from? And she just wrote back saying they don't really pick from any school. And so I held on to that letter. And then years later, I realized I'm working with Sue Aitchison, who's now she's the head of the Make-A-Wish stuff. And I find this letter, and it's crazy, right? I've been working with her. She took the time, wrote back to me, spelt her own name wrong because it was written on a typewriter. So she was probably I'm not going to clean this up on a typewriter. On a computer, you just backspace and fix it, right? So she didn't even take the time to fix her name, but it's cool that she wrote back. And I still have the actual letter, so it's cool.
That is awesome that you got that back from her. And then what ignited the fire in you to go forward and make it a career and become a professional wrestler? And
that's the only thing I ever wanted to do. I never had another plan B. And I think I honestly, they always go, you gotta have a plan B to fall back on, And I can remember Dee Snider from Twisted Sisters saying, if you're going to do something like this, whether it's rock and roll or whether it's wrestling, you can't have a plan B. You have to have a plan A and just tunnel vision. There's too much competition out there to go, if I'm not good enough, I'm going to do this instead. So as hard as that is to hear and do, it's the truth. You got to go. WWF was the only thing I was ever going to do. And I just I worked hard. I was the only guy in my area. The same day that I graduated high school, they handed me my diploma. They wouldn't let me march with my class. They handed me my diploma in a private little ceremony in the principal's office because I'd missed too many days of school. And because I was off wrestling for WWF. I started wrestling for WWF while I was still in high school. I was just doing TV tapings as an extra. And so I missed too many days. They wouldn't let me march. They handed me my diploma, and I moved to Tennessee to work for Jerry Lawler and Jerry Jarrett. And I always say, I was the only guy that did that. I'm the one that packed up and just moved away and went. And you have to take chances, And a lot of it is luck. Right place, right time, and luck. You still have to put all that work in, So
to be fair to you, you chased your dream, and it's come true, So it's worth it. Shows, you put
and that's what I say in my seminars. The first thing I always say to these kids in the seminars is look, you guys can have everybody tell you you're too small, you're too old, you're too young, you live in the wrong place, wrong time, your style's not good enough. But I was the kids that I'm meeting now. I didn't have a ring. I didn't have seminars with former WWE guys coming in and telling me what to do. I didn't have the coaching, the training that these people, even that I met with this afternoon in this building, have. So there's nobody that can tell them, hey, you can't do this, because I was all of that. I was 150 pounds. living in a state with no wrestling school, no other wrestlers. I had zero connections. I was a backyard guy. I just went after it, and nobody was going to tell me no. So
you've smashed it, so
that's
it goes to say. Just to go off tangent ever so slightly, you mentioned about Twisted Sister, and I couldn't help but notice that yesterday, when we were at TNT, you had a Def Leppard t-shirt on. Today you've got a Kiss t-shirt on. I'm guessing from that you're a bit of a rock music fan. Is that the case, would you say?
And then I got my cowboy boots on.
Oh, and it's just cowboy boots on, so exactly. So who are you, just let the guys know, who are like your favourite bands and stuff, just for anyone who's interested in that sort of thing as well?
I grew up on country music. And then in the 80s, I don't know how it was here, but in the 80s, like the hair bands started to come in with Motley Crue and Poison and Bon Jovi and all those guys, right? So and then looking back, like, that was pro wrestling, dude. Like, you had these guys in crazy costumes with crazy antics, with pyro. It's everything that the Attitude Era really became, right? And I use Kiss all the time in my seminars. I've seen Kiss 3 times on this tour. I say Kiss is more pro wrestling than pro wrestling is pro wrestling now. I've seen them 3 times on this farewell tour. I saw them a bunch of times 20 years ago on that farewell tour. But they are, Paul Stanley just turned 70, Gene Simmons is 72. They sell out every single time I've seen them. They stand up there on stage in these outlandish costumes with clown makeup on, breathing fire, spitting blood, flying through the air, shooting stuff out of their guitars. And then I'll say to the kids sitting in front of me, and I'll go, do you know how many #1 songs Kiss has had? You guys know? No. 0. So that's my point to them. We call this pro wrestling, but it's really not about the wrestling. It's about creating moments with that audience, making fun, having fun, giving them a 2 hours, 2.5 hours worth of fun, forgetting about the real world for a second while you sit there. It's not about the wrestling. It's not about the music, apparently. Right? It's the same thing. Whatever it is the entertainment is the entertainment, and you just have to make it fun. Especially in the world we're living in right now. You know, with COVID and people out of jobs and just the craziness and the negativity on social media, like, just come and have fun. That's why I did my thing last night. Like, I don't need to go out there and, kill myself anymore. Like, I didn't have to do anything. They were having fun, and I was having fun. You know what I mean? I just sit back and let it go. So it's just finding how to take them on that ride and have fun with it, just like Kiss and those bands do.
That's it. Putting on a show, and you certainly did last night. I know everyone who was in attendance had an amazing time, and obviously, it's all over the internet today. So I've seen so many people sharing it and liking it and everything. It's just like brilliant. It just shows exactly. You come on the tour, come to the UK, and it's Scotty 2 Hotty Mania.
That's awesome, man.
Just go back to one thing. So as I was growing up, we had over in the UK, we had like Sky TV used to show on Sunday afternoons, used to have like Challenge and Superstars. So at the time I was watching that, you were coming through the ranks, working as like, you call it probably an enhancement talent, but you had so many matches that were shown on UK TV, like every Sunday afternoon, and these programs were like on repeat for the whole of Sunday. So I just used to sit and literally watch all these matches to see who was coming through. So like some of the matches I've seen you have, I'm pretty sure I saw your face like back in the day, like the likes of the Berserker, Yokozuna, probably Razor Ramon. Who were some of your favourite people from that sort of era when you were sort of working sort of 92 through to 95? Who were your favourite people to work with, and who did you work with quite a lot at that time that you enjoyed?
I worked with Owen Hart a lot. Owen Hart, I don't know how many times, and then guys like Hakushi, Shawn Michaels. I worked with Shawn Michaels, so my childhood idol, I worked in my hometown. It's pretty cool, right? Rick Martel, Mr. Perfect, Yokozuna. It didn't matter who it was. Like I said, I was in high school where one day I would be in the locker room with Hulk Hogan, The Undertaker, and Sid Vicious, and the biggest names in the wrestling business, and then literally the next day I'm back in high school. So like, there was no way I was going to be normal. You know what I mean?
It sent you on that path, and then obviously, you were doing some other bits and bobs. I believe at one point you nearly went to ECW. Is that true?
So this one, ECW had 2 matches with Taz. They were kind of a tryout type thing. And after the first night, they said they wanted to do something with me. But I had just talked to Bruce Pritchard, who was the head of talent relations for WWF at the time, the day before. And he said he wanted to talk to me the next week. So I told Taz, and it was Tommy Dreamer and Taz that said, hey, we want to do something with you. And I said, Bruce Pritchard wants to talk to me next week. You know, I don't think he wants to know what color to paint his house. They had a pretty good idea what it was. I knew they were starting this light heavyweight division. So I said, can I give you an answer next week? And they said, yes. The following Wednesday, I talked to Bruce, and he said, we want to hire you for the light heavyweight division. And that was it. 1997, February 97, I signed.
Excellent. And you were light heavyweight champion, you were tag team champion, WWF and WWE. You know, what a career you had from that moment onwards. And then, so what were you sort of when you first arrived there? You were, is that when you the light heavyweight tournament, wasn't it? And then didn't you?
Yes, they brought me in for the light heavyweight tournament, and nothing really happened. Does anybody know who I was eliminated from the light heavyweight tournament by?
It was Kane.
Kane.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, absolute spoiler alert by me there. Yeah, so excellent. And then obviously you went on from there, and you were working as Too Hot Scott Taylor, was it, at that time?
Well, yeah, so from, was that 97, February of 97 until WrestleMania of 98. So that would have been April-ish of 98. They threw Brian and I in a tag team battle royal. And I mean, just threw. I was a good guy, he was a bad guy, no rhyme or reason. Sitting home on Wednesday afternoon, and I got a phone call. I was ready to be released at any time at that point because I'd been sitting home not doing anything for a long time. And they told me I was in the tag team battle royal at WrestleMania, and then I ran into Vince McMahon getting a coffee at WrestleMania in catering. Like, now he doesn't even come out of his office. He has his own office, he has his own coffee maker, all that stuff. Right? He actually has 3 guys that make his coffee for him now. One to make it, another one to hand it to him, one to taste it to make sure it's not too hot, and then he drinks it. But back in my day, he made his own coffee. So it was like, here's the coffee thing, and it was like, making the coffee, and then I feel somebody to my left, and it was like this light just shined down on top of me, and there's nobody from a mile around, and I look, and it's Vince McMahon. So I was able to have this conversation with him where I said, you know, thank you for putting me on WrestleMania. You know, it's awesome, and here I am, this young kid, you know, and it's like, thanks for putting me on WrestleMania. What else do you say, right? And I said, you know, I used to, I know I'm with Brian, and Brian's too sexy, Brian Christopher. A couple of years ago, I was wrestling as Scott Too Hot Taylor on some independent shows. And he said, that's interesting, let me think about it. And then the very next week, I was Scott Too Hot Taylor, he was Too Sexy, Brian Christopher, and we were too much. And then we ran with that for a while. And then
steamrolled from there.
That's it.
And then obviously a little bit later on, we carry on from there, and it was sort of 99, wasn't it, where you were, they changed you to Too Cool, and you had Rikishi added to the mix, and then suddenly it was like you'd captured lightning in a bottle, basically, wasn't it? It was
That's the only way to explain it.
Just absolutely.
If you put that on paper, it doesn't look like anything, but dude, I'll tell you what, the first night that the 3 of us danced together, it was lightning in a bottle, magic, whatever you want to call it. Didn't make sense, just the crowd loved it. I mean, I don't know, I don't even think he needed us. If you have a 400-pound Samoan dancing in a thong, he'd probably been okay by himself. You know, but then you got a guy with, you know, a black goatee and spiked up blonde hair, and, you know, another guy with fake dreadlocks and goggles, and it was just so over the top. And I don't even know, people ask, like, in the seminar, like they asked me today, do you think it would work now? And I really don't, just because we had such a cast of characters to play off from at the time that it was perfect time. Everything just came together at the perfect time. So I don't know if it would work now.
It was insane. I remember watching it at the time, and you coming together, and it just seemed so random, but it did work so well. And it created obviously some absolutely great moments, as you say. You know, that's the most important thing. Everybody here surely remembers, like, the times with Brian Christopher and Scott as well. During that period, what was like your favourite match you had with Too Cool? What was your favourite like standout match that you guys had?
I think it's got to be the 10-man tag on Raw. It was Rock, Cactus Jack, and then they had mystery partners. Like against Triple H, X-Pac, Dean Malenko, Benoit, Perry Saturn, with Eddie Guerrero on the outside, Tori on the outside, Stephanie McMahon on the outside doing commentary, and it was just crazy. And then you had the New Age Outlaws coming in at the end, and Kane coming in at the end with Paul Bearer, a returning Kane who had been away. Like there were about 20 guys in the segment, and it seemed like a mess beforehand, before we were going into it, and it was just one of those nights, kind of like last night, where the crowd is just electric from the beginning to the end, and that's how they were in Dallas that night, and it kind of put us on the map, it really like solidified us. So that was February, I want to say it was first or second week of February, but we had also had the Royal Rumble moment in January where we danced, so I think the Royal Rumble thing really solidified us. And then they were able to put us on the main event, on Raw, with guys like The Rock and Cactus Jack and Triple H. So that's crazy, man. What else can you ask for?
That is like the cast of the Attitude Era, isn't it? It's just amazing. And obviously, going back to that Royal Rumble moment you mentioned, that was so well orchestrated. I think, I only watched the Royal Rumble the other week, and I never like to say, it's not as good as it used to be or anything like that, but things like that where, awesome stuff like that used to happen. I just think that I'd love it if things like that happened again now, but it just seems like some random stuff's going on, to be fair, sometimes. But that moment at Madison Square Garden, wasn't it, was just insane. How was it when that happened?
So when it happened, it was cool, but it wasn't as cool as it is now. I don't think any of us had any idea how big it was going to be 22 years later. Because now every year when the Rumble rolls around, it pops up, 1,000 times in my feed, and everybody's tagging us, it's so awesome. Like, to think that we had a moment like that is pretty cool. Like, a lot of people don't ever get that, and they want that, right? So it's again, it was just magic. It wasn't a big deal I don't remember really putting it together, or I don't remember a lot about it. It was just over time. It feels like it's gotten bigger and bigger, and such a cool thing. And to be in Madison Square Garden, and my brother, my sister were both there. My wife at the time was there. So it was like perfect. Funny story on that. So that was the same night. I mentioned my brother and sister being there. They drove down from Maine, which is like 4 hours away, to come to the show. And the Hardy Boys were in some kind of TLC match with the Dudleys that night. Does anybody remember? They go out there, they kill themselves. The company somehow paid for my brother and sister's room, and then I found out the Hardys had to pay for their own room that night, the same hotel. And they know that, we all know it, but it was like, and I would joke about it, like, my brother and sister got the room paid for, but you guys apparently aren't working hard now.
Love stories like that. I meant to ask as well, so Scott Too Hot, was that something you created yourself, or is that something that...
No, it was something that I used only a few times on the Independents a few years before that, so... In reality, I should own that name, but I don't. They own it, but...
And just one other thing, Jay, who's brought you over for TNT, obviously a big fan, and Jay wanted to ask specifically, how did you guys come up with the dance thing? I know Brian Christopher was doing a bit, you did a bit of break dancing, did you, at one point? And then how did it end up morphing into the Too Cool, the dance that you ended up doing?
So Brian choreographed all of that. That's I always felt bad for. Like Rikishi always got credit for the stink face, and I had the worm. And then they were like, well, what did Brian have? And he put that whole dance together, and he was the one that kind of taught it to us. It's basically the electric slide if you look at it. And we'd be practicing that in the back, and dude, I don't dance. I break dance. Like he said, I can do a backspin, I can do a worm, I can do an okay moonwalk if I have the right shoes on. You know, I can do this stuff, you know. This is what I do. That's all I do. But like to go out to a club, like I was walking from the venue last night back to the hotel where the hens are, so I have a one-track mind, I was like, you know, you guys saw like it was crazy out there last night. What they say, it was like college night or something. And it was just like walking by, it was like loud music.
Student night it was last night. Yeah, it was a bit chaotic about time last night.
And just to see that, I'm like, man, that is the furthest thing from my scene. Like if I was in that place and like people are dancing like that, I would be like, the only place I would be comfortable is if I was in a corner. You know, and it was black and nobody could see me.
Safe.
Like, yeah, like. So like this whole Scotty Too Hotty thing was really just me like being way over the top and just like trying to dance bad because I couldn't dance like those people in the clubs. And it's like I've never danced at a wedding. Like I'm terrified of it. I got sweaty palms thinking about it. So.
Does anyone in the audience, anyone want to show us the worm? Anyone wanted to show Scotty how they do the worm? Somebody I'm sure mentioned that they could do it before on the way in. Now's your big moment if you've had a drink and you want to come and show us the worm at the front quick. It's quite a hard floor. Go on, Casey, come on then. Just for Scotty, I'll appreciate that, I'm sure. We introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, it's K.C. Payne. W-O-R-M. Somebody get that man a Scotty Too Hotty at the bar, please. Thank you very much. Amazing.
That's a big deal to be doing that. So funny, so I'll tell you a funny story, just made me think of that. Like seeing him do that with no knee pads on reminded me. The other night I told you guys I was in Wales, I did a show. And because I'm bouncing around so much over here, I brought like one big suitcase and then one backpack, whereas usually I just travel with a smaller suitcase and put all my stuff in that, and I'm good for my regular clothes, my wrestling clothes. But because of the big bag, when I left the hotel room, I just took my wrestling gear out, threw it in the backpack, got to the show, and I put on my pants, and I'm like, shit, I forgot my belt, right? But I had this belt with me, I had my real belt with me, so I was like, all right, I can pull that off. Then I go, I forgot my friggin' knee pads. First time in 32 years I ever forgot my knee pads. So I wrestled my first match ever without knee pads on this trip. But I got a better reaction the other night when I talked about it.
Well, still standing, good efforts. That's what we like to hear. And I'll just mention one other thing. So obviously, going back to Too Cool, on May 29th, you guys won the tag team championships off Edge and Christian. What was that moment like for you as someone who's grown up as a wrestling fan, and to get to hold the tag belts? That's just awesome, isn't it?
No, it was surreal. You know, it was awesome. Like, you know, then we had Joe C from Kid Rock help us in the match, and I was a huge Kid Rock fan, even though he wasn't in hair bands, you know. But no, it was. That whole year, dude, like that whole year was just so surreal and such a blur, and I wish I tell everybody now, keep a journal, because take pictures and keep a journal. That's my #1 advice for everybody who does this, just because it goes so fast, you're in so many different places, and you bounce around, and just like in 2 years, it's a blur, you kind of forget, and that's kind of how that year was. It was just, we were wrestling, you gotta think, we were wrestling Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, shit, I don't know. No, we would wrestle
every day and 2 days, Sundays.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Raw on Monday, SmackDown Tuesday, fly home on Wednesday, have Thursday off, and then leave Friday. So it was go, 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 go. And then you would, sometimes on your days off, we would have phone interviews to do with radio stations where you would promote an upcoming show, so you do back-to-back-to-back interviews with radio stations, or you do a signing at an on sale. You know, tickets today are going on sale in Liverpool, so they'd send one wrestler there to sign autographs, to be there as an attraction as people come to get tickets. So you might be doing that, or they might book you out on what they call a third-party booking, where like a car dealership or a monster truck show hires you just to come in and sign autographs. You know, so it was awesome, but it all becomes kind of like a blur, you know.
The travel and everything. I was going to say, from that, there must be like a lot of camaraderie that develops. I was lucky enough to be at a WrestleCon in London a few years back, and to see the camaraderie between like the wrestlers is just insane. There was like Chavo, Brett, and a load of the guys were there, even like the Nasty Boys were there causing havoc at the bar. But they were like, it was just great to see them.
That's so weird to hear. I've never heard that.
They did not live very well behaved, but they were. It was just great to see how such good friends they all were on the road. Who were your best buddies to sort of travel with and everything? Who did you ride with or whatever?
So when I first got hired, it was Mick Foley and Al Snow, and we would do all the theme parks together. And then Val Venus for a while, Edge for a while, Edge and Val Venus for a while. We'd be in the same car. Kane for many years. And I have a funny Kane story, I'll tell you if you want.
Definitely, yeah.
Who else? Funaki, Stevie Richards, a little bit.
So you had a really good group of mates on the road, didn't you, as well?
It's so funny because people always go, oh, Scotty Too Hotty must be like the party guy, and I'm like the opposite. I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I'm kind of boring, you know, like, I'm a theme park nerd who basically just likes theme parks and likes to hang out with his kids. So, I'm really not that, I'm not loud, this is not easy for me. It's taken me time to be able to do this. Especially when Brian used to do all the talking, you know. So I kind of hung with guys like that, you know. Glenn Jacobs. When he and I were together, you got to think at the time, I had the bleach blonde hair that was up high, but I didn't wear it like that when I left the building, so it looked fairly normal to just be down flat. And then you had him who wore the mask. So we could leave a show, we could go to dinner at the restaurant next door, and people would be like, oh, those guys look like wrestlers, but they wouldn't know who we were, you know? Not all the time, but sometimes, you know, so not like other guys had it. But my funny Kane story is, so for a long time, he and I would room together and share a room. And this is when I was still Scott Too Hot Taylor. And, of course, he had the leather mask. So whenever you get to your room after a show, you unpack your bags and you let your stuff dry out because it's all sweaty and wet. So you have one set of knee pads usually and maybe a couple outfits, but you always just set your stuff out to dry out. Well, Kane and I went to the gym and we come back, our stuff's all laid out in the gym. You have probably like a bright pink or some kind of bright colored spandex outfit that says Too Hot on it. And then you have a leather mask sitting on the table. And then you have a bleach blonde guy with a black mustache and this big giant guy with this long hair, and at the time he had like the big thick Coke bottle glasses. He just looked like insane at the time. So we're walking into our room as this little Hispanic maid is walking out.
That awkward moment when... Amazing. So it sounds like you have had just like a great time on the road as well as doing the job that you dreamed to do. It sounds like you just had a great time. And you mentioned there about the roller coasters and theme parks, that you do love roller coasters and theme parks. So I know you've moved to, you live in Florida, don't you now?
Yeah, I've been in Florida since 2003, I think we bought our place down there. 2003, 2004, 2003.
So I was going to say, I remember in one of Mick Foley's books, there's a photograph of you all at a theme park on a ride and stuff. So it's great to see that you've been like, it's good to see outside the ring that you get to do stuff and you're not just working all the time. You still do have an enjoyable life as well.
That was before I moved there. We went to Islands of Adventure at Universal Studios, and it was before Raw taping or SmackDown taping, and I didn't live there. None of us lived there. It was me, Edge, the Hardys, Al Snow, and Mick. And now, well, Edge moved there, he moved away. I moved there. Mick lives there now. So it's, it's awesome. And now my daughter works there. So how crazy is that? She wasn't even born yet. So she's a performer at Universal Studios. So it's a crazy world, man. Crazy world.
Anybody in the audience roller coaster or theme park fans at all? Yeah, oh, excellent. So yeah, I'm a big fan of theme parks. I've been to quite a few when I've been over in the States and stuff. So Scott, what's your favourite theme park and your favourite ride for everybody who wants to know about that?
Honestly, and everybody from over here doesn't believe this when I say it, but if I had one I could go to, it's Disneyland Paris. And everybody's always like, but you have the huge Disney. There's something about Disneyland Paris as a Disney nerd that is just. Disneyland in California has this cool vibe because Walt Disney was actually in that park. Disney World, he died before he ever saw any of it. But Disneyland Paris is, I don't know, you have the brick paver on Main Street, you have the walkways that are all themed behind the shops on Main Street, you have their Space Mountain is the best one, I think. Their Haunted Mansion, which is called Phantom Manor, I think is the best one. Their Pirates is the best one. Their Big Thunder Mountain that goes through the dark tunnel out to the. So you guys see I'm a super nerd for all this. But I always say everybody is a super nerd for something. Whether it's theme parks, comics, action figures. And then, but the weird thing, or you go sports, and they go, oh no, sports is like a macho thing. No, dude, you're watching somebody chase a leather ball around the field, and you're wearing another grown man's name on your back. No, that is kind of nerdy. Or it could be pro wrestling. It's okay. Everybody's a nerd for something, and it's okay. It's cool to be a nerd. I'm a nerd for theme parks. So.
I've just ticked all the boxes above. It's excellent. Good work. Brilliant. So, I wanted to ask, living in Florida, I saw something where you said you sort of got to the stage of life where you got to 40 and you were asking yourself, should I, what am I going to do? Am I going to carry on wrestling? And you tried a few other different careers, didn't you? Would you be able to tell everybody about that sort of period and what your thought process was? Because you did some absolutely awesome stuff, didn't you, as well?
You talking about the male stripper gig?
No, that's the Bachelor Party. It's a different fan club.
You're going to see the worm like you've never seen it tonight. I was getting to a point where I was a little burnt out on independent wrestling. And the more you do the independent wrestling after you leave WWE, it starts to slow down. And I see 40 coming at me 100 miles an hour. And pro wrestling is all I know. And I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then I run into a friend of mine at a restaurant, him and his wife, and he's about the same age. He said, you should get into the fire department. And so I started thinking about it, and I was like, okay, they work 48 hours in a row, and then they have, they work 24 hours. This is in the States anyways. They work 24 hours, and then they have 48 hours off. I go, okay, I can do the fire department thing for 20 years and retire, have a full pension. It seems kind of like wrestling, where there's that brotherhood type thing. And I think I could still manage to take my wrestling dates. So I immediately signed up to go to the fire academy, paid for it all, went through the EMT class, passed the fire school, passed my fire test through the state, went to the EMT school, passed the class test, never passed the state test, but I did start volunteering at some local fire departments, and I've just found, and nothing against 20-year-olds who like Duck Dynasty, but I was finding it was just the stations would be full of these young kids who hadn't really experienced life yet. They would just literally just sit at the time Duck Dynasty big over here. They would just sit in there, and that's what I remember. They'd just sit and watching Duck Dynasty and laughing hysterically, and I'm like, I I'm outside running around the block, like just because I'm like a lion in a cage. Like I've done this my whole life. I'm go, 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 go. And I'm like, I lost interest really quick. And then from there, I went and got my real estate license to start selling real estate. And I did that for a little bit, but the same thing, it was like, dude, like my heart wasn't there, the passion wasn't there. And then all of a sudden, of all places in the world, the WWE Performance Center lands 40 minutes from my house. Like, I don't even have to move to take a job as a coach at the Performance Center. So even if I lived 2 hours away, I would have had to move closer, you know, because I wouldn't want to drive. But 40 minutes away, I can do that, stay at the same place. My kids stay at the same schools. And I wasn't sure I would even be a coach, to be honest with you, because I was, like I said, I was a backyard guy. Never went through a proper wrestling school, but tell you what, I fell in love with the job immediately. So
the coaching you've done, you've coached some of the biggest stars who have come through at the moment. You have Zach Gibson shout there, obviously from Liverpool, but I know like Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez. It's two of the people you really take great pride in, isn't it, from their training? And you know, what a time you had there, Performance Center. You know, you obviously enjoyed what you were doing.
Yeah, it's weird. They all became like my own children. Like I mean, Rhea is just a couple years older than my actual daughter. But they were like, I would see them grow, and you create these relationships with them where you see them grow and they gain your trust, and you know, it's amazing. It was so awesome. It sucked that it changed the way it did to make me not like it, but I'm thankful for the good years that I had, and you know, like Gibson and you know those guys, and Montez Ford and Elias and Otis, like. To be a part of that, and every once in a while I'll be watching and I'll see them do something in a ring on TV that I remember working on with them. Like, it's the coolest thing, right? And then a couple weeks ago I was in the gym on a Monday night, and I'm just on the treadmill in the gym, and I look up and Raw's on the TV, and there's Rhea Ripley. Like, how freaking cool is that? You know what I mean? Like, here I am in my small town in my gym, or to walk into a store and see their action figures sitting on the shelves, you know, it's the coolest thing. And it's weird, I'm kind of going through this thing right now where I feel like I walked away. I feel like a father who walked away and left his kids with a drug addict mother.
Hopefully they're in good hands.
And maybe that's a bad comparison, but you guys know what I mean. It's just like somebody like a Cora Jade, who I saw she just started to gain my trust and would text me and ask me opinions on stuff. Even after I left, she would ask me stuff, and I wish I was there for people like that, you know, because the wrestling business can be rough and mentally hard sometimes, and I felt like I had that with them where they would trust me, you know, so it was hard. But I will say this, the very last thing I did was I produced the on-sale show for this coming WrestleMania, which is in Dallas, Texas. So basically, if you guys don't know, the on-sale show is, they send a bunch of Raw and SmackDown stars to do appearances. So they send the Raw and SmackDown stars to do appearances, and then they send the NXT stars. All right, dude, we're gonna do what we did at the PC. Now you have to cut a 1-minute promo. Go.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. If there's one stinking thing I hate in this world, it's batteries. More importantly, bad batteries. That's why I use As the Long Life. But if there's one thing I do like in this world, it's great IPA beer, which you can get right now at the bar. Make sure you use your QR codes and have a great time. Thank you very much, folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ben Cecil of TNT Extreme Wrestling. Thank you, Ben, for the battery change there. And brilliant interlude and advertisement. Lovely stuff. And Scott, apologies, continue.
So back to the WrestleMania on sale show. So instead of SmackDown Raw stars, they do signings and promos and media interviews, but then they'll have like 5 or so NXT matches. So they sent me to produce the NXT matches and produce the show. Now it's in Dallas Stadium, which is, what, 100,000 people? Last time they were there for WrestleMania. It's not full, it's a free show. They just let fans come in and they have games, and they just make it a fun thing for the community the day the tickets go on sale. And you can see all these people. So I go, and the very last match, let me backtrack. So at one point I had both Raquel, I had asked to have Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley in my class. Only 2 women I ever had, and I just saw them evolve into something different while they were with me. I had them working with the guys, and they were gaining a confidence that they never had, and they gained my trust, and we just created this relationship where, like I said, they became like my daughters. So fast forward to this show in Dallas Stadium, and the very last match is Raquel versus Dakota. And they're getting close to the finish. Dakota rolls out, she starts backpedaling up the ramp. We hit Rhea's music, Rhea comes out, Dakota turns, Dakota starts backpedaling down the ramp. Raquel rolls out, grabs her, throws her in, they go to the finish, boom, Raquel hits her with her finish, 1, 2, 3, Dakota rolls out, Rhea rolls in. The very last segment that I produced, this is when I get emotional, is Raquel and Rhea standing in the center of a ring in Dallas, Texas, in a stadium. Pretty fucking cool, right?
That's when you see it, but the girls who like Rose and Raw through are there on the big stage, and you know they're 2 people that everyone enjoys their work, and you can see they're going to come through and be big stars, and that's exactly what you want. You've done a great job, obviously, there with them, so that's amazing to see.
So Ben, you got a chance, dude. That's all I got to say. Dallas Stadium next year.
He's on his way with his As the Long Life. Excellent. Just one quick question before we throw it out to you guys to ask a couple of questions as well. What is next for Scotty Too Hotty, for Scott Garland? What is next? What's your plans?
Dude, I honestly don't know. So I'm back at that same place where I go, what the hell am I going to do after this? And I don't know if it matters. Sometimes I stress about it. What am I going to do? This is on fire right now. I am literally booked every single weekend into June, with the exception of one weekend a wedding to go to. But I'll probably have to friggin' dance. But right now I'm just enjoying this, and I tell you what I do love. I love about this part right now is the marketing of it all. I'm marketing myself. I do all my own social media, and I try to keep a buzz going, and I put together my own videos, and I'm enjoying the marketing part that we never had even 6 years ago when I was on the independents before I went back to WWE, because you didn't have social media as strong as it was, So really, like I said before, it's given us a platform to be our own promoters. And I don't know if there's something in marketing, because I really do love that. I thought, do I go back to school for marketing? Do I have to go back to school? I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on it all. Maybe I could get in with somebody. I don't know. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't ever see myself. You'll never see me say I'm having a retirement match, because I'm just going to do this until I grow. I'll take this back. Take that back. I will do this as long as I can feel like I can do it on a respectable level. So if I don't feel I can go out there and they're going, wow, he used to be so much better, I think it's time to go. But sometimes it's hard to walk away from this. It's the greatest job in the world, man. Last night was a lot better than some. Don't get me wrong. I performed, the largest crowd I ever wrestled in front of was at WrestleMania. It was in Toronto, Rock versus Hogan. I was supposed to be on the main show in a 6-man tag. They bumped it to the Sunday Night Heat pre-show, but it was still in front of that large crowd, which was 67,000 people or something like that. Last night, this is the payday was probably better or whatever. It might not have been, but last night was more fun. Because what you find in those stadium shows, they look amazing on television, but they're so big that all the sound goes up. Or there's a delay in the sound. Whereas when the people are right on top of you and you get reactions like last night, it's instant. And there's nothing better than a tight audience like that where it's right there on top of you. So as long as I can do this, man, and I can travel and I can have fun, and we just met yesterday, right? For the first time. I'm pretty sure, for the rest of my life, I will genuinely, you've been cool and cool to see you. And I've met different people, and I met Wolfgang, who, you guys know Wolfgang from UK NXT. What's that? ICW. Yes. The one ICW fan of those. Same guy who's watching AEW. It's okay. But I've worked with Wolfgang at the PC a little bit, been around him over there a little bit, but never really hung out with him. Whereas over the last few days, dude, we went to dinner after both seminars, we hung out with his wife, and I was like, at the end of the day, I was getting out of the car, and he hands me a package, and it was the football team from Glasgow. But he handed me a jersey for my son, and I was like, this is a class dude, this is a good human being. And that's like, I was like, dude, I wish there were more human beings like you. I'm not even talking about wrestling, I'm just talking about good human beings in general. And I get to go out and I go around the world and I meet these cool people. There's still people I stay in touch with from when I go to OTT tomorrow. There's a whole crew. The whole OTT crew is basically the AWR crew. We're running France and Bulgaria, Romania, Germany, Switzerland back in 2008, 2009, and I haven't seen those guys in 7 years. So tomorrow I'm going over there and I'll see those guys for the first time. And again, some of them are like my family, So I'll go there, and then I booked my flight to go. I have 2 OTT shows and I have 2 seminars. And I know I talk a lot. Sometimes I get nervous and just ramble on. So just tell me to shut up if you don't want to hear this. 2 OTT shows, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I teach seminars over there. And then I booked my ticket to go home on the 16th. The next day I realized, holy shit, St. Patrick's Day is the 17th. I have to stay in Ireland for St. Patrick's Day, so
If you thought student nights in Liverpool was crazy.
And it's it'll be the first St. Patrick's Day in 3 years because of COVID, so I'm expecting it. Like I said, I don't drink, but this is what I'm going to be doing on St. Patrick's Day. I'm just going to be sitting back and I'm going to be recording all this stuff.
Just go live, that's going to be the most hits you've ever had.
I get to watch the show on the last day there, so it'll be awesome. I'm looking forward. But that's what I'm all about at this point in my career, dude, is just life experiences and having fun, meeting cool and genuine people and enjoying it,
That is amazing to hear, honestly, and thank you so much for the kind words there. Guys, show your appreciation once again for Scotty to Hotty. In a moment, we'll open up the floor so you guys can ask a few questions as well.
No, I'm good. I will take another...
Yeah, can we just get another water, Ben, if you've got another water for us, please?
Come on, Ben, what the heck, get up. He's sitting over there, he's like, swipe left, swipe left, oh, swipe right, swipe right, swipe right, swipe right.
Thank you so much, Ben. And just once again as well, we've got a moment, just want to thank the team at Top Rope Brewing. You've done a great job. Thanks so much for hosting us. And obviously for hosting the floor training event this afternoon. I'm sure all the people at Floor Training School have been so appreciative of that. And to have a legend like Scotty lending his knowledge to them guys is just amazing. And it just leads me on to one last thing I want to mention before we do quick Q&A. You're building that ladder for for the pupils of tomorrow. These guys, we've got Claw now training here in England, and then you've got that ladder where there's a clear line that you can get to the top, and with help from people like yourselves, these guys can go on to achieve what you did yourself. So I'm sure from all the Claw students, I just want to say thank you as well for the seminar today. I'm sure they will really appreciate it.
I'm sure I did. It's funny, I didn't really used to enjoy seminars, and then I just wasn't confident about it, and I thought everybody wanted to get in the ring and have me show them stuff, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, I know how to do this, you know what I mean? I'm the showbiz guy, I can, some guys are good at the technical wrestling and the whole Demon Lingo and Chris Benoit style, and some guys are just, everybody has their own thing, right? But I can work a crowd. That's what I do. That's what I think I can teach them. So that's what I try to talk to them about. And I think that's kind of part of what's missing today, because I grew up a fan of the Hogan era with DiBiase and Jake and the Bulldogs and Coco Beware and Rick the Model Martel. And even though those are a bit over the top for today's characters, they were still these characters that you could identify with, and they were all of them were so different, and then you had the Attitude Era come along, and it was a whole nother bunch of characters, and I think that's what's missing for me personally. The moves and the athleticism of today is like we've never seen before. These guys are amazing athletes, and they work so hard, sometimes too hard. I'm a guy who didn't do all that stuff. I'm this guy, and I have my head is being held together by screws and a steel plate. If it gets too late, if it gets too loose, my head might just fall off up here. But and then I've had back surgery, neck surgery. Then that's it. But I didn't work that hard style. So now to see these guys, like last night, the dudes in the death match, diving off the balcony. I don't worry about. I hope they have a good career. I hope when they're 40, 50 years old, they have a quality life. I feel pretty good. I'm going to be 49 this year, and I feel like I'm still pretty good, and I work out hard, and I think I'm going to be okay. But man, that's what scares me. If you can slow down and create a bond with that audience, it doesn't become so much about the moves as it does about the stuff in between. So that's what I try to teach anyways, and I love doing it now.
That is one of the most beneficial lessons that you could possibly learn, isn't it? So excellent. Thanks so much. Guys, if you want to put your hands up, anyone who's got a question for Scott, and I'll come over to you and Mad Dog on tour. We'll start over here, and we'll try and hopefully get some decent questions for you. Well, I trust you guys. If you'd like to introduce yourselves first, feel free to stand up. Try not to swear, and obviously.
Was I not supposed to swear?
Fuck yeah.
So obviously the last couple of years have presented the industry with a pretty unique and big challenge in terms of the COVID pandemic. That's been massive for the industry. I was just wondering how that's affected the role that you were doing over the last couple of years and the talent with which you were working at that time.
Yeah, it affected everything. I don't know if you guys, I just posted something on Instagram just as I was on the ride here, and it was with Gene and I last night, and just listening to the crowd sing, and it was like, I think we all realized that the crowd is the most important ingredient in what we do. You take that away, dude, I feel bad for those people who had to have those matches with no audience. Because you got to hear a pin drop, and they're out there killing themselves, and they're having a WrestleMania match in front of nobody in the Performance Center. I think it says a lot about the fans, and I think it taught us as performers a lesson not that we ever took it for granted, but it proved without you guys, it's nothing. I can't imagine hopping around waiting for a WORM with no reaction, or anything I do as a